I was reborn, back into my mother's womb when she was 8 months pregnant. In my previous life, I was mentally broken by the exploitation of my parents and finally chose to commit suicide. My twin brother, on the other hand, reaped the benefits and watched my death with cold eyes throughout. Having a new life, I saw everything clearly, feeling the fellow brother in the womb with me. I tried my best to grope and stretch my hand towards his umbilical cord. My name is Sue Anning. I was born in a fishing village by the sea. My father is a fish vendor at the dock, and my mother is a female worker in a weaving factory. Since the moment I was born, as a girl, I was considered inferior to my twin brother, Sue Anshin. Although our family's conditions were fairly good, my parents never spent an extra penny on me. A married daughter is like spilled water. Everything in the family will belong to your brother in the future, and you should also support your brother. This was a sentence my father and mother often said to me, brainwashing me for a full 30 years in my previous life. For Sue Anshin, with excellent grades, I gave up the college entrance examination and was arranged by my parents to work as a female worker in the weaving factory. For Sue Anshin, when I first fell in love, I was married by my parents to a scoundrel in the village. For Sue Anshin, I worked day and night and finally became ill from overwork and was hospitalized. However, my parents refused to pay even a penny for the treatment. Instead, they were discussing with my scoundrel husband how to handle my funeral and then happily collect a sum of money as gifts. Losing the hope to live, I finally chose to end my own life. Since I couldn't control my own destiny, I could only decide my own life and death. The deeply ingrained concept of preferring sons over daughters made me a money-making tool in this family, an economic pillar for my brother Sue Anshin, and a bargaining chip to obtain the bride price. But I was never a daughter to my parents or a sister to my brother, and my brother Sue Anshin watched coldly from beginning to end, enjoying the value I created for him with peace of mind. The intense pain of falling on the hard concrete floor in my previous life hadn't dissipated from my mind yet when a muffled voice reached my ears. It's only 2 months until the baby is born. Sufeng, don't do heavy work anymore. Just take care of the fetus in peace. It was pitch black all around. I could feel that I was in a soft container, wrapped in a large amount of liquid. This was a woman's womb, the place where life was conceived. I was reborn. I traveled back into my mother's womb and became an 8-month-old fetus. I would never forget that hateful voice just now. It was my grandmother. In my previous life, she had been abusing me in various ways since I was a child and had also targeted my mother, scolding us both as money losers, just because I was a girl and my mother gave birth to me. A girl, you slut, and you even gave birth to a money loser. Did the money in our Sue family come from nowhere? Why did my son marry such a useless woman like you? This was what my grandmother often scolded my mother. Instead of resisting at all, my mother later applied this set of words to me. I pitied her. She was both a victim and a perpetrator, struggling with the identity of a woman all her life. Having a new life, I finally recognized the truth. In this life, I won't let myself be at their mercy anymore. I want to live a new life for myself. I want Sue Anshin to know that in this world, a woman is not an appendage of a family. I will start changing his mind from childhood, so that in the end, he can firmly stand by my side and help me resist our parents. In the dark, feeling the other life huddled with me, my fellow brother, I started to roll hard. Finally, I managed to touch his umbilical cord with my arm, soaked in the amniotic fluid in the womb. I couldn't see, and my body was almost too soft to control, so it probably took me a few days to wrap Sue Anshin's umbilical cord around his neck. I only wrapped it 2 times because I was afraid that wrapping it 3 times would strangle him to death. If that happened, I might be thrown into the sea as an unlucky star by my stupid parents and grandmother. At the same time, I also kept rolling to change our positions. In this life, I don't want to be a submissive younger sister, I want to be a decisive older sister. With my mother's screams in the delivery room, Sue Anshin and I were born. This time, as I wished, I became the older sister, and Sue Anshin became my younger brother. When the nurse picked me up, I coughed up the remaining amniotic fluid in my lungs and cried loudly on purpose. In my previous life, because of the umbilical cord around my neck at birth, I was weak since childhood and took a long time to cry in the delivery room. In this life, due to the umbilical cord around his neck, Sue Anshin's physical condition was obviously much worse. the doctor and the nurse, worked together, for a long time before I vaguely heard his not so loud cry, wrapped in a swaddle, I was taken over by someone, humph, a money loser. My grandmother's voice seemed to be stuffed in a stuffy jar and reached my ears vaguely. Then I felt myself being casually placed on a hard surface. I guessed it was probably the wooden bench in the waiting room. I guessed that this vicious old woman and my unscrupulous father must be holding Su Anshin and grinning from ear to ear at this moment, but I was so weak now that I could hardly hear any sound. When I was 3 years old, I had already started doing some within my power work at home, just like in my previous life. Because of the umbilical cord around my neck, the old woman said, "Why didn't we just strangle her to death back then?" In this life, the old woman's words became, "An unlucky star. If it weren't for her, how could my dear grandson be in such poor health?" Yes, Su Anshin had always been in poor health. He would catch a cold when exposed to cold wind, have diarrhea when drinking cold water, dislocate his jaw when yawning, and get a stitch in his side when coughing. He was like a fragile porcelain doll, so, the old thing blamed all of this on me. As a result, the status of the unlucky star at home became even lower. However, I would always beat Su Anshin severely when there was no one at home or when the adults couldn't see. This had been a daily activity that I had persevered in since I could roll over at 6 months old. At first, the family thought I was too young to understand, but later they found out that I was deliberately trying to beat him. Several times, he went crying to the adults to complain, and my parents and grandmother would beat me severely. When being beaten, I never cried. I just stared coldly at Su Anshin and then beat him even harder the next time. After several times, he understood that complaining would make me beat him even more severely, so he sensibly shut his mouth. This was a habitual way of thinking cultivated from childhood, just like training a dog. As long as one perseveres, a fear of me will be imprinted in his mind. In this way, even if he has more physical strength than me in the future, he won't have the consciousness to resist. As the saying goes, give a sweet date after a slap. While bullying him, I also tried my best to protect him outside. Su Anshin had been weak and sickly since childhood. Since kindergarten, other children often bullied him. Whenever I heard his cries, I would rush to his class like a mad person and beat the students who bullied him until they wailed like a mad dog. Even the teacher couldn't hold me back. Over time, I became a crazy woman that people feared in school, and everyone also knew that Su Anshin had a crazy older sister who protected him without principle. Su Anshin's psychology should be very tangled. On the one hand, he was afraid of me. On the other hand, when being bullied, he would think of me first and yearn for my protection. My parents were also very happy with my almost crazy brother protecting behavior, until that time in the 5th grade. In the second semester of the 5th grade of primary school, once Su Anshin was blocked in the bike shed by several male classmates. The boys took off his pants and punched and kicked him. The reason for beating him was very simple. He was the first student in the class to have a Walkman. I witnessed this scene when I went to the bike shed to get my bike. I rushed up like crazy at that time. I had a bad reputation. The several boys were frightened when they saw me. One of them who ran slowly was kicked in the waist by me. His rib was broken. That night, the parents of the injured boy came to our house to ask for an explanation. My father apologized again and again, paid the medical expenses, and then picked up the shoulder pole for carrying water, in front of the boy's parents. He whipped me severely with the pole until I spat out a mouthful of blood. Then he was scared and stopped his action, and I stared at him firmly from beginning to end, neither crying nor dodging. Finally, it was Su Anshin who stood in front of me and cried out the truth that made him angrily throw away the pole in his hand. "You only know how to cause trouble for the family all day long. Do you know how long it takes to earn that money? An unlucky star. You should have been thrown into the sea and drowned back then." Even though he knew that I was protecting Su Anshin, he was still brooding over the medical expenses paid and blamed all the mistakes on me. That night, I was punished and not allowed to have dinner. I was asked to go to the yard to feed the cows. Su Anshin ran over and secretly stuffed 2 pieces of jujube cakes to me. That was the first time I ate jujube cakes in my life, because this ordinary snack was only for sons in this family. I gobbled up the 2 pieces of jujube cakes, and then reached out and slapped him hard. "Do you know why I hit you?" He lowered his head and didn't dare to look at me. "I know. because I didn't stand up and tell about being bullied. Get lost. During the 3 years of junior high school, my grades were always among the best. Although Su Anshin was not as good as me, he always maintained a stable middle level of grades. In the second year of junior high school, something happy happened at home. My grandmother passed away. That vicious old woman who wanted to throw me into the sea as soon as I was born finally died. One less person in this family was torturing me. Su Anshin cried his heart out at the funeral, while I just watched everything around me expressionlessly from beginning to end. Sister, I will never see grandma again. Su Anshin cried and sat next to me seeking comfort. He actually wrongly thought that I would empathize with him. I coldly dropped a sentence, none of my business. He looked up in astonishment and met my resentful eyes. Then he lowered his head with a gloomy expression. Probably he remembered how that kind-looking old woman used the most vicious words in the world to curse me, the unlucky star, in the class division exam in the third year of junior high school. With my first, in, grade score, I successfully entered the key class. In the office, the head teacher sat on the chair, looked at my test paper, and nodded with satisfaction. When she looked up again, our eyes met. I could see the undisguised regret in her eyes. What a pity. She looked at the test paper in her hand again. Su Anning, if only you were a boy. At that moment, all the blood in my body seemed to freeze. A teacher, a people's teacher, a gardener watering the future flowers, was actually also influenced by this stubborn and narrow-minded thought, just like my parents, looking at her face. I seemed to see my father and mother, seemed to see my deceased grandmother, seemed to see those women in the village who showed off after giving birth to sons. I couldn't hear what the teacher said specifically later. I just kept telling myself in my heart, I must go out and never come back. One day during self-study, I was doing my homework when suddenly I felt a warmth in my lower body. By the time I realized it was my first period, my pants had already been stained red with blood. I wrapped my coat around my waist, asked the teacher for leave, and went home to change my pants. Pushing open the courtyard door, my mother was working in the yard. Why are you back? The next second, when she saw the blood on my pants, she came over and slapped me hard. You shameless thing, don't you have any sense of shame? Watching her scold me non-stop, pointing at the pants, I simply ignored her, went into the house to change my pants, and soaked my school uniform in water to start rubbing the red stain. You waste, a set of school uniform costs more than 200 yuan. Why do you have no common sense at all? I found it funny. It turned out that in her perception, this kind of physiological common sense should be something that can be learned without a teacher. I stopped washing the clothes, looked up at her. Give me money. I want to buy sanitary napkins. Do you deserve it? A pack of sanitary napkins costs more than 10 yuan, which is enough for a meal. Hee. She didn't mind spending money on her own sanitary napkins, but she wanted to save on me. I simply bypassed her and directly rummaged through the cabinet to find her sanitary napkins to use. She didn't dare to stop me because I learned to resist after entering junior high school. She couldn't get any advantage, so she could only stand in the yard and curse at me, but that bloodstain still left a mark after all. I had no choice but to go to school the next day wearing a school uniform pants with a bloodstain, because they refused to buy me a new pair of school uniform pants, even though the family was not short of money. The next day, when I walked into the school gate wearing those pants with the bloodstain that I really couldn't wash off, there were mocking laughs from behind. Ouch, how did the top student in the grade turn into a ferocious beast? There was an immediate burst of laughter all around. I quickened my pace, planning to get away from these people as soon as possible, but there was a fight sound from behind. Su Anshin rushed over and punched the boy who was mocking me in the face. The boy was tall and big, and Su Anshin, being thin and weak, was no match for him at all. The other party pushed him to the ground and punched him in the face. I pounced on him and kicked the boy in the neck. Kicking him off Su Anshin, I pinched the boy's neck desperately, venting all the anger I had pent up during this period on him. The light of fear was reflected in his eyes, and he even forgot to resist. Su Anshin hugged me from behind and dragged me back with all his might. Sister, let go, you'll strangle him to death. I was pulled away by Su Anshin, and the boy fell to the ground, coughing desperately, full of fear in his eyes. I broke free from Su Anshin's restraint, rushed up, and kicked the boy in the face. You can laugh at me, but if you dare to touch my brother, I'll kill you. After that, I turned around and slapped Su Anshin hard in the face. And you, what are you pretending to be tough for without the ability? He was already used to being slapped by me. He just glanced at the onlookers and then whispered. I just couldn't stand them laughing at you. I pointed at the teaching building. Get lost, go to class. After the high school entrance examination, Su Anshin and I were both admitted to the key high school in the city. The difference was that I ranked first in the whole city, while Su Anshin ranked 329th, and the reason I could smoothly enter the key high school was all thanks to the 30,000 yuan grant sent by the Municipal Education Bureau with great fanfare. That day, for the first time, I saw the smiles on my parents' faces that they only showed to Su Anshin. I knew that they were smiling for that 30,000 yuan, smiling for being able to hold their heads high in the village. They were definitely not smiling because they were proud of their daughter. So during the 3 years of high school, I studied even harder, almost to the point of being crazy. Every winter and summer vacation was the most difficult time for me. I not only had to go to the seaside to help, but also do the housework. However, with just one sentence, Su Anshin exempted me from all the labor during the 3 years of high school. All my classmates take tutoring classes. My sister is the top student in the grade. Let her tutor me during the vacation. We can also save on tutoring fees. My parents were overjoyed when they heard this. They kept praising him for growing up and becoming sensible. Knowing that it was not easy for parents to earn money, only I knew that in fact, he wanted me to have more time to study. I was also grateful. Since entering high school, I hardly ever hit him again, so usually at home, we each studied on our own. Only when he encountered problems he didn't understand would he carefully come up and ask me. I would also try my best to control my emotions. I would only hit him when he didn't understand after the first explanation. The 3-year high school career came to an end, and I ushered in the turning point of my life, the college entrance examination. I didn't perform well and only got 647 points. Su Anshin performed even worse. He only got 490 points, a full 50 points less than in the usual mock exams. He decided to repeat a year, while I was required to report to the weaving factory. Just because this time the Municipal Education Bureau didn't come to the village with great fanfare to send money. No matter how well you study, you will get married in the future. What's the use of studying so much? I say, earn money early and enjoy life early. What can you do after finishing college? Not get married. You're an adult now. You can't act on your own will in everything. The family also needs you to take on responsibilities. Facing the chatter of all the relatives, my mother even started to pack my luggage, planning to arrange me in the workers' dormitory of the weaving factory. At this time, I had already received the admission notice from Beiliao University. Watching my parents enthusiastically discuss the distribution of my monthly salary in the future, I stated my decision. I won't go to work. I want to go to school. Naturally, this sentence was met with a severe beating. The two of them were so angry with me that they took turns hitting me, for fear that I would recover. I pulled out a thick iron wire from the corner and put it against my neck. Either I die now, and you've raised me for more than 10 years in vain, or let me go to college and earn money after graduation. I spoke calmly. The tip of the iron wire pierced the skin on my neck, and a stream of blood drilled into my clothes along the collar. The two of them stopped talking and looked at me angrily. The family has no money now. Your mother's and my salary still need to be saved for Anshin to go to college. If you want to go to school, figure out a way to get the tuition and living expenses by yourself. Exactly. Do you know how many connections I used to get you into the weaving factory? I'm your mother. Would I harm you? I didn't want to waste any more words with them. Let me die, or let me go to school. In the end, under my threat of death, the two of them still chose to compromise. However, they firmly refused to pay for the living expenses and tuition. We've raised you for more than 10 years. Now it's time for you to repay your parents. The family has no money. If you want to go to college, find a way to earn the money yourself. My unscrupulous father left such a cold-hearted sentence and got up to leave the room. My mother gave me a hateful look and followed suit. I rubbed my swollen arm, casually wiped the blood on my neck with a piece of toilet paper, picked up the phone, and dialed the number of the admissions office on the admission notice. The phone was answered. On the other end was a female teacher. I briefly told her about my situation. She gently comforted me a few words. Student, don't have any concerns. come to the school to report first. The school will figure out a way for the rest. Her words were like a glass of clear water handed to a person about to die of thirst, making me feel very comforted. Before hanging up the phone, she specifically told me, "Girl, don't give up hope." Hearing this sentence, I gritted my teeth to keep myself from crying. "I see, thank you, teacher." During the month waiting for the school to start, I went to work as a factory girl in the food processing factory in the town. The food processing factory recruits short-term student workers during the vacation. The salary is not as much as that of regular workers, but for me, the salary for this month is no less than a huge sum of money. After working for a full month, I received my salary and went home to pack my luggage. I found that my luggage was pitifully small: an old quilt, 2 pairs of shoes, 3 sets of clothes, plus personal toiletries were all my possessions. When I was about to go out, my father and mother blocked the door again. I inquired, "You earned more than 2,000 yuan this month. What does a girl like you need so much money for when going out? The family just needs to buy high-quality feed for the cows. Give 500 yuan, my father, with a cigarette in his hand, said to me as a matter of course. I tightened the straps of my backpack. "Impossible, that's my future living expenses." My mother came up and snatched my backpack. "No way, we don't feel at ease if you take so much money out." While we were tugging, Su Anshin ran in. "Dad, our cow ran away." Hearing that the cow ran away, the two of them no longer cared about me and quickly went out to chase the cow. "Sister, go quickly." He grabbed my hand, took me out of the house, got into the adjacent alley, and ran towards the entrance of the village, turning left and right. "Did you let the cow run away? How will you explain it when you go back?" A glimmer of cunning flashed in his eyes. "I'll just say I forgot to close the fence door. They won't blame me." At the entrance of the village, he took out a wad of money from his pocket and stuffed it to me. The largest bill was 100 yuan, and the smallest was 1 yuan. They were crumpled and stacked together. Probably about 300 or 400 yuan. I haven't spent money recklessly these days and secretly saved some. "You keep it as living expenses." Looking at his familiar face and the money he handed over, I could no longer overlap him with the cold-hearted and selfish bastard in my previous life. I stretched out my hand towards him. He reflexively thought I was going to slap him again and shrank his neck and backed away. I put my arm around his neck and pulled him into my arms. "Sister is leaving, you review well." His body trembled. He hugged me, called me sister, and started to cry softly. "Stop crying, you only know how to cry." I wiped his tears with my hand and then wiped his runny nose on his clothes. I picked up my luggage and turned around without looking back and left. His shout came from behind, "Sister, be careful on the way." I casually waved my hand with my back to him. I didn't dare to look back because I was afraid he would see my gushing tears. After a hard-seat train journey of 1 day and 1 night, I finally reached the terminal station. Getting off the train, I smelled the dry and hot smell in the air, which was much more comfortable than the fishy, salty, and humid air by the sea. I was finally free and finally escaped the home that had made me miserable for 2 lifetimes. Suddenly, the luggage bag beside me was picked up. I was startled, thinking someone was robbing my bag. "Girl, let me carry it for you." The person speaking was a middle-aged man about 40 years old, with a fleshy face and a ferocious tattoo on his bare arm in a short-sleeved shirt. No, I quickly reached for my bag, but he changed hands and didn't let me touch it. "Come on, I'll carry it for you for a while. Are you here to study?" "Yeah." Along the way, I was carefully on guard against this stranger, for fear that he would run away with my luggage bag. Although there were only clothes and quilts in the bag, it would still be very troublesome for me if it was robbed. When we reached the exit, he put the bag at my feet and grinned at me. "Okay, go ahead, be careful when you're out." That smile really wasn't good looking, but I felt it was the most reassuring smile I had ever seen in my life. He waved his hand and blended into the crowd. It was not until he disappeared into the crowd that I came to my senses and bowed gratefully in his direction. "Thank you." After changing 2 buses, I finally stood at the school gate of Beiliao University. Several passing boys knew I was a new student and enthusiastically helped me carry my things and led me to the new student registration office. I met Teacher Yang, who I had talked to on the phone. Teacher Yang understood my situation and said that she would apply for a student loan for me. She also enthusiastically contacted the logistics department and arranged for me to work part-time in the cafeteria. It seemed that everything had become smooth since I entered the campus. The dormitory in the school was a double room. The girl who lived with me was from the neighboring city. Her name was Xia Xingnan, a typical Northeast girl, very enthusiastic and very friendly. After turning off the lights, she smilingly got into my bed and started the night chat mode. Just after one night of chatting, she had dug out all the details of my family background. "Are you sure you weren't picked up by your dad and mom? Even if you were picked up, they shouldn't treat you like this, right?" She was shocked by the almost pathological preference for sons over daughters in my family, and I was equally shocked that she was the apple of her family's eye. My job in the cafeteria was relatively easy. I only needed to get up an hour early every day to help in the cafeteria, and help serve food at the window at noon and in the evening. Not only did I get a salary every month, but the cafeteria also provided me with 3 free meals a day. Just this one item of 3 meals a day greatly saved my daily expenses. Several aunts in the cafeteria heard about my situation from teacher Yang and were very angry about my experiences since childhood. What kind of parents are these? They don't deserve to be parents at all. So, the aunts began to strictly prevent me from doing any slightly heavy work. The chef uncle would occasionally secretly cook a special dish for me. This kind of warmth was something I had never felt at home. No one looked down on me because I worked in the cafeteria. Even my classmates were envied by others because they got more food than usual in the cafeteria. When other classmates got food, they would say, more, more. But when it came to my classmates, it was, enough, enough, I can't eat anymore. Often, some boys would walk around with their bellies full, burping and scolding, "That damned Sue Anning wants to stuff people to death without paying for it." It had a bit of a haughty and Versailles flavor. Because of my job at the cafeteria window, I had seemingly become the darling of everyone in the class. The unique enthusiasm of Northeast people infected me, and I quickly integrated into the collective. No one here had the idea of preferring sons over daughters. In their cognition, women can hold up half the sky, was the normal way of thinking. Daughters also had the right to inherit. In the family, the status of daughters was even higher than that of boys. Physical work such as moving things and carrying heavy objects was always the work of boys. Several times, when I saw them struggling to move things and wanted to go up and give them a hand, they would rudely push me back. "This is a man's job. What are you, a woman, doing here? Go and stay aside." Although the words sounded very impatient, they made me feel a different kind of warmth. When November came, the temperature dropped sharply. Autumn seemed to have just made a brief appearance and was then pushed down by winter. As the weather turned cold, I planned to ask Shengnan to accompany me to the nearby market to buy a down jacket. As a result, when she came back from home on the weekend, she threw a big package into my arms as soon as she entered the door. I opened the package. Inside were 2 pairs of thin cotton, padded trousers and a down jacket. The cotton, padded trousers were bought for me by my mom last year. They're a bit small and I didn't have time to exchange them. The down jacket was bought for me by my dad. I hate purple the most. It takes up space at home. You help me get rid of them. You treat me to dinner at the cafeteria tonight. It's such a happy decision. Shengnan and I were about the same size. Those cotton, padded trousers were actually very suitable for her. Saying that she didn't like purple was just a lame excuse she deliberately made to give me the clothes without making me feel burdened. Looking at the clothes in my arms, I wanted to say thank you, but my tears couldn't be controlled and flowed down. "Ah, I really can't stand you like this. Are a few pieces of clothes worth crying about?" She couldn't stand seeing me cry the most. She quickly put her arm around me to smooth things over. "Stop being stingy. I won't let you treat me. I'll treat you to Malatang tonight." "Oh, stop crying." The spring festival was approaching, and I welcomed the first winter vacation of my college life. My classmates began to leave school one after another. I didn't go home because I was afraid that once I went back, I would lose the chance to return to the campus. Moreover, my parents hadn't called me even once. To them, as long as I didn't ask them for money, they didn't care how their daughter was doing. Only Su Anshin would occasionally secretly call me, and he would just report his study progress. Usually, he would hang up the phone after saying just a few words. Fortunately, the dormitory was open during the vacation, so I could still live on campus. As the spring festival approached, I specially bought 2 bags of quick frozen dumplings and threw them into the freezer in the cafeteria, planning to sneak into the cafeteria on New Year's Eve to cook a meal of dumplings. Just as I was looking forward to the dumplings on New Year's Eve, the door of the dormitory was pushed open. Shengnan walked in and without saying a word, grabbed the down jacket and put it on me. Come on. My mom asked you to come home with me for the spring festival. I declined repeatedly. But she dragged me onto a taxi. Then I saw a scene at her home that I would never forget for the rest of my life. In the kitchen, Shengnan's father was wearing a pink apron and was busy cooking. When he saw me coming, he stuck his head out of the kitchen, greeted me with a smile, and then dived back into the kitchen. This was something I never expected. In my family, my father and Su Anshin would never touch any housework. All the housework and farm work were done by my mother and me. Sometimes when my mother went to work in the factory, these tasks naturally fell on me. Auntie pulled me to sit on the sofa in the living room. Why is this girl so thin? How can her parents be so heartless? This sincere concern and love made my nose sting. Auntie took my hand. When you're here, it's just like being at your own home. Tell me if you want to eat anything, and I'll ask your uncle to make it for you. I asked in a low voice. Don't I need to go to the kitchen to help uncle? Auntie waved her hand. Help with what? If a grown man needs help even with cooking, what's the use of having him? At the New Year's Eve dinner table, Uncle took out a bottle of wine. Have some. Auntie picked up a piece of braised pork bone and put it in my bowl. Follow your sister's example and grab it with your hand and gnaw on it. Shengnan was holding a piece of braised bone almost as big as her palm, and oil was dripping from her mouth as she gnawed on it. Uncle poured a glass of wine for me and said with a smile, try my cooking. I just don't know if you're used to it. Loving parents and a sister who likes me. Such a scene had never even appeared in my dreams before, but now it was truly unfolding in front of me. After experiencing 2 lifetimes, for the first time in my life, thousands of miles away from my hometown in the Northeast, I felt the warmth of home. For them, being reserved and cautious is the greatest harm to such kindness. So I also began to learn from Shengnan's example and grabbed that big piece of bone and started gnawing on it. Another year's college entrance examination came. This time, Su Anshin performed very well and easily exceeded the first batch admission line by more than 30 points. When filling out the college entrance examination application, he called me to ask for my opinion. Sister, where do you think I should fill in as my first choice? What did Mom and Dad say? They told me to apply for a university near home, saying that it would be convenient for me to go home. Dad said that raising a son is for old age support and he doesn't want me to go too far away. I thought of the uncle who helped me carry the bag at the station, the aunts in the cafeteria, Shengnan's parents, my teachers and classmates. To completely transform Su Anshin, it couldn't just rely on my slaps and sweet dates. I needed a big environment to get rid of the bad roots in his heart. Anshin, if you really trust me, fill in the National University of Defense Technology. A man should go out and make a living. Don't be tied down by that small fishing village for a lifetime. Okay, sister, I'll listen to you. The day after filling out the application, I received a call from home for the first time. It was my mother who called. She was crying and scolding me on the phone. You ungrateful wretch. You don't even know how to come back and be filial to your parents during the spring festival. You just care about having a good time outside. Now, you even instigated your younger brother to fill in a university in the Northeast. What on earth are you up to? It seemed that Su Anshin had really listened to me and filled in the National University of Defense Technology, listening to the foul language from my own mother on the phone. I asked her casually, Mom, why do you want Su Anshin to go to university? Of course, it's to bring honor to our Su family and glorify our ancestors. Then am I harming him by suggesting that he apply for a university in the north? He's going so far away. What will your father and I do in the future? Who will take care of us when we're old? So, Su Anshin is just a guarantee for you and Dad's old age support, and his future isn't your top priority. Right, nonsense. Would I harm my own son? Stop trying to sow discord. I'm just making the most reasonable suggestion based on his grades. If you're not satisfied, you can let him repeat a year and ask him to apply for that third-rate university in the city when filling out the application tomorrow. After saying that, I hung up the phone directly, not giving her a chance to speak again. 2 months later, Su Anshin came to report to the National University of Defense Technology. I specially went to the station to pick him up and led him to the new student reception area in front of the station. He had grown taller and much stronger. When he saw me, he handed me the package in his hand. I'm exhausted. Mom packed a lot of things for me. I could barely carry it. As always, I took the package he handed over. Didn't they too come with you? No, the sea is about to be closed for fishing, and there's a lot of work at home, so I didn't let them come. While we were talking, several male classmates from the new student reception area came over. One of the boys naturally took the package from my hand. Su Anshin looked at that boy in confusion, and I just smiled habitually and said, "Thank you, classmate. Are you a new student reporting here?" "No, he's the new student, and I'm his sister." The boy who took the package directly stuffed it back into Su Anshin's hand. "You're a grown man, and you let your sister carry your bag. Don't you have hands of your own?" I smiled and tried to smooth things over. "It's like this in our hometown. It's okay." The looks in the eyes of several boys towards Su Anshin clearly showed a hint of disdain. "What kind of place is that? They still practice that patriarchal stuff." "Exactly. You're such a big guy, yet you let your sister carry your bag." "If I dared to let my sister do the work at home, my dad would kill me." Although they were whispering, Su Anshin heard them clearly, and his face turned red and then pale. I smiled and patted his shoulder. "This is just the local custom, you'll get used to it." Looking at several senior students, he nodded blankly. My education of him since childhood enabled Su Anshin to quickly adapt to the surrounding environment and get along well with his new classmates. He was amazed at the status of local women, which was a social environment he had never been exposed to in the past nearly 20 years. He called his parents and said that he could work part-time to earn tuition and living expenses and try not to ask for money from home anymore. The two of them were so touched by their son's call that they shed tears and kept praising Su Anshin for growing up and becoming sensible. Thinking about the scene when they squeezed the meager living expenses out of my pocket before I left home with my luggage, I couldn't help but feel a deep chill. When a son works part-time to support his study, he is considered independent and sensible, while when a daughter does the same, it is taken for granted. What's more, it is considered a heinous crime if she doesn't use the money she earns to subsidize the family. During the long vacation, Su Anshin made an excuse that the round-trip fare was too expensive and called to tell his parents that he wouldn't go home. Then he turned around and ran to the school to find me. When I saw him at the school gate, I clearly felt that he had become different. I couldn't tell exactly how, though. It wasn't until we were shopping that he naturally reached out his hand to me and took the bag I was holding. He was almost a head taller than me. I stretched out my arm with effort and patted his head. "Good job, that's right." He smiled sheepishly. "As a younger brother, I should serve my sister." I laughed softly. Su Anshin had really changed. At this time, I realized that I hadn't hit him for a long time. So I reached under his ribs and gave him a hard pinch. A howl like that of a slaughtered pig came from the pedestrian street. In the blink of an eye, it was my junior year of college. I still calmly received the scholarship awarded every year and indulged myself in the world of being a top female student and the pretty girl serving food in the cafeteria. Without hesitation, Su Anshin would occasionally come to find me when he didn't work part-time during the vacation, report his situation to me. And by the way, let me treat him to a meal. One day, I was reading a book in the dormitory when the door of the dormitory was suddenly pushed open. I saw the two people I least wanted to see in my life. "You, why are you here?" My father, as always, had an unpleasant expression. "I'm your father. Why can't I come?" My mother, on the other hand, had a look of reproach. "You haven't been home for several years. I think you don't want your father and me anymore." Shengnan knew about my family situation and politely stepped forward to greet them. "Hello, uncle and auntie." Her enthusiasm was met with a blunt sentence from my father. "Get out, our family has something to talk about." Shengnan thought she had misheard. "What did you say, uncle?" My father glanced at her impatiently. "I told you to get out. Can't you understand human language?" I immediately felt something was wrong. Sure enough, the next second, Shengnan's expression changed drastically, and she started scolding my father. "Who the hell are you? Why are you ordering me around? My father has never spoken to me like that. If you can talk properly, then talk. If not, shut your mouth. How did you get in here? This is a female dormitory. It's you who should get out." My father probably had never seen a woman dare to talk to him like that, and he was stunned by the scolding for a moment. Shengnan's loud voice almost lifted the roof. And it attracted the girls from other dormitories and Aunt Wang, the dorm supervisor. Whose girl is this, so unruly, interrupting when adults are talking? How did your parents educate you? I have to say that my mother really couldn't see the situation clearly. At this time, she was still speaking sarcastically, not realizing that keeping quiet was the best policy at the moment. I softly comforted Shengnan while enduring my father's abuse of me. My mother came over and grabbed me. Hurry up and go through the withdrawal procedures with me and go home to get married. Everyone present, including me, said in unison, get married. My mother quickly explained, Mom has found a good family for you. Uncle Wang's son has taken a fancy to you. He gave our family a bride price of 150,000 yuan and also promised that if you can give birth to a big fat son within a year, he will get a marriage certificate with you and give an additional 100,000 yuan as a reward. Hurry up and pack up and go home with us. Uncle Wang was the fishing overlord in the village. His son had been idle and good for nothing since childhood, was as thin as a reed swaying in the wind, and always spoke in a effeminate way. Just thinking of him made me feel sick. I forcefully shook off her hand. Whoever wants to marry can marry. I'm not going back. I want to go to school. My father slapped me hard. You've gone too far. When did it become your turn to make decisions in our family? I felt dizzy, and a warm liquid flowed out of my nose. Am I a bastard? Then what are you two? Shengnan pulled me behind her, and Aunt Wang stood in front of me. How can you two have the nerve to be parents? I'm telling you to leave quickly. If you don't, I'll call the security guards. Aunt Wang's tough attitude made my father feel that his authority was being challenged. He pushed her hard, and Aunt Wang was directly pushed to the ground. You bitch, it's our family's business. What are you, an outsider, meddling in? Shengnan and I quickly went to help her up. I kept apologizing, but she pulled me over and protected me behind her. As long as I'm here, you can't take this child away today. If you cause more trouble, I'll call the security guards. My mother gave her a fierce glare. So what if we cause trouble? She's my daughter, and she has to do whatever I tell her to do. Who are you? Mind your own business here. Aunt Wang took out her phone and was about to call the security department. My father stepped forward to grab the phone. During their struggle, my father punched Aunt Wang. Aunt Wang let out a roar. How dare you hit me? I'll fight you. The next second, Aunt Wang was like a shell fired from a gun and knocked my father out. My mother wanted to go up and help, but she was surrounded by Shengnan and the girls from other dormitories. Aunt Wang rushed over and scratched my father's face until it was all scratched up. While scratching, she cursed, "You son of a bitch, scumbag, how dare you hit a woman?" My father's face was scratched, and my mother was surrounded by the classmates. It was not until the police came that they were rescued. In the police station, my father's face was scratched to look like shredded potatoes. But he still remained tough. Slapping the table, he roared at the policeman in front of him, "I want to take my own daughter away. What right do you have to stop me?" My mother also chimed in beside him. "How can the women in this place hit a man? They really lack a man's discipline." The young policeman looked at my father calmly and said slowly, "This is a police station. You're even slapping the table. Who do you think you're talking to?" After saying that, he gave my mother a glare. "What's the matter? Do women deserve to be beaten by men?" My father pointed at the injuries on his face. "So am I just going to take this scratching for nothing?" Then he turned his anger towards me. "If it weren't for you, why would I be brought to this kind of place now?" I stared at him calmly. "Forcing me to go back and get married and making a scene at the school. Is all of this my fault?" My father raised his hand to hit me. "You good for nothing, how dare you talk back?" I had made up my mind to let him stay in jail for a couple of days, so I didn't even plan to dodge. That slap never landed. His wrist was grabbed from behind by Su Anxin. "Dad, do you want to make this a big deal and leave a criminal record? What if it affects my future job hunting and political review?" My father glanced at him and reluctantly put down his hand. Since he couldn't do anything to his precious son, he turned his spearhead towards me again. "Su Anning, you have to come back with me today." "I'm not going back. If you make me go back and get married, I'd rather die. You unlucky star, I've already received the deposit from that family. If you dare not go back, I'll beat you to death." My mother frowned and said sternly, "You've really rebelled. Who taught you to talk to your parents like this? Do you believe that I'll tie you back?" I'll say this one last time. If you dare to tie me back, I'll become a widow on the wedding day. Let's make sure neither of us has a good time. The police officers handling the case had been watching the drama for a long time and finally understood what was going on. Are there really parents like you? It's as if your daughter isn't your own child. My mother was actually quite confident. A married daughter is like spilled water, of course. A daughter won't be part of our family in the future. Such remarks directly left the two police officers speechless. They looked at my father and mother for a long time, not knowing what to say. Seeing that my father was coming to pull me again, Su Anshin suddenly pushed me. Su Anning, don't think that just because you're my sister I won't dare to hit you. Since you're so determined, if you have the ability, never step into the Su family's door again in the future. I'm telling you, when I have the ability in the future, even if you come begging at my door, I won't pity you. He looked at me coldly. You ungrateful wretch, just consider that my father and mother raised you for nothing all these years. From now on, the Su family has nothing to do with you. Get lost. My mother secretly tugged at him from behind, but he waved her hand away. Mom, what's the point of keeping such an ungrateful wretch? Are we waiting for her to get our whole family sent to jail? I turned around and left without looking back. Behind me came the sound of Su Anshin arguing with our parents. Why did you let her go? I've already negotiated a bride price of 250,000 yuan with the Wang family. I don't want the money from an ungrateful wretch. I can earn money on my own in the future. In the end, my father compensated the dormitory supervisor auntie and apologized. Only then did he receive the forgiveness of the school and the dormitory supervisor auntie and avoided leaving a criminal record, and I, with the help of Su Anshin, finally managed to escape from this family. After my parents returned to our hometown, Su Anshin came to find me. He forcefully stuffed a wad of money into my pocket. Sister, this is my salary for this month. Buy whatever you like. Don't always think about saving money. I couldn't argue with him. He firmly held my hands. If you take all my money, what will you do this month? Mom was afraid that I'd go hungry, so she gave me living expenses before she left. You don't have to worry about me. After saying that, his voice dropped. Sister, I'm sorry. What do you have to be sorry for? If it weren't for you, I might already be getting married to that skinny guy. I grabbed his collar and made him bend down, then stroked his head. It's really nice to have a younger brother like you in this life. Hee. Actually, I also think it's nice for you to have a younger brother like me. Why are you so full of yourself now? What can I do? I'm just following the example of others. My college life came to an end. After graduation, I passed the campus recruitment exam and stayed to work in the admissions office. After graduation, Su Anshin successfully entered a military enterprise. The following year, he got married with his college girlfriend because she was pregnant. My sister-in-law is a local, the only daughter in her family, and the apple of her parents' eye. Before their wedding, in order to prevent my parents from coming into contact with me at the wedding, the young couple found me and had a meal together, which was like letting me, as the elder sister, witness his love and marriage. I bought a small golden lock for the little one in my sister-in-law's womb. When the first snow fell at the end of the year, my niece was born smoothly. Learning that my sister-in-law was about to give birth, my parents rushed over a month in advance. As a result, outside the delivery room, when the nurse held the baby and said it was a girl, my parents immediately turned hostile and started cursing at my sister-in-law who hadn't come out of the operating room yet. You useless thing. How could my son take a fancy to such a useless person like you? The first child is a girl. My mother looked at the tiny life in the swaddling clothes with great disgust, showing no awareness of being a grandmother at all. This is really a disgrace to our Su family. Even if they paid me to take such a daughter-in-law, I wouldn't let her in the door. She had been a woman all her life and had endured the scolding of her parents-in-law. In the end, she became just like my grandmother. The two of them didn't even want to take another look at the child and just focused on cursing my sister-in-law's family. Su Anshin tried his best to suit them, but they instead told Su Anshin to go to the court immediately to handle the divorce procedures. Ignoring the gazes of the people around, my mother grabbed Su Anshin and was about to leave. There are plenty of women. She doesn't have the ability to give birth to a son. Mom will find you another daughter-in-law who can give me a grandson. More and more people were watching the scene. I stood aside and coldly watched the two of them with their ugly faces, acting like clowns. My sister-in-law's father was a man of few words. He casually picked up an infusion pole and lashed it hard on my father's arm. My father immediately fell to the ground, holding his arm and wailing in pain. Several aunts of my sister-in-law stepped forward and started punching and kicking my mother. There were a lot of onlookers, but no one stepped forward to stop the fight. Everyone just thought that the two of them deserved it. Su Anshin wanted to go up and stop the fight, but I firmly grabbed his wrist and slapped him in the face. This was the first time I had hit him since high school, and also the first time in my life that I had used so much force. Su Anshin, don't you see, if you step forward to stop it today, your marriage will come to an end. But, they are our father and mother. If you have a mean mouth, you have to pay the price. You're a father now, you should understand this truth. Do you choose such parents or your own wife and daughter? You make the choice yourself. Su Anshin hesitated for a moment, and finally, holding the child, he followed me back to the ward. In the single ward, there were clearly two factions. My father and mother stood at the door. My father's arm was already in a splint, and my mother had a disheveled hair and torn clothes. My sister-in-law's family stood in the ward, eyeing the two of them warily. Su Anshin, this is the wife you found. Not only did she give birth to a good-for-nothing, but they also beat your parents. Are you just going to stand by and watch? My sister-in-law's father, who was always kind and gentle, had a gloomy face. If you dare to call my granddaughter a good-for-nothing again, I'll kill you right now. Try me if you don't believe me. My father's lips moved, but he didn't say anything in the end. Son, say something. Are you just going to watch your father and me being bullied like this by others? Su Anshin was silent for a long time. Finally, he stepped forward. You'd better go back to our hometown. What do you mean? Would you rather have that good-for-nothing? Would you rather have a daughter than your own parents? Have you wasted all the knowledge you've learned? My mother slapped her thigh, sat on the ground, and started to make a scene. What evil have I done? I gave birth to a son who takes the side of others. He has a wife and forgets his mother. Why is my life so hard? Enough. With Su Anshin's roar, the two of them immediately shut up and stared at him blankly. You didn't treat my sister as one of the family since we were young. Now you're trying to destroy my family. Do you want me to become like you? What's wrong with a daughter? My sister is also your daughter. She's so excellent. But have you ever really looked at her? I'm telling you, I'll never have a second child in my life. You can forget about having a grandson. When you can figure it out, you can come to see the child. I'm too ashamed to be associated with you. The two of them stared at Su Anshin in disbelief, as if they had never expected that their most beloved son would one day openly turn against them. In the end, the two of them returned to their hometown in disgrace. Su Anshin's performance was recognized by my sister-in-law's family. My sister-in-law didn't blame him. Instead, she believed even more that she had found a good man. When my little niece was 3 years old, my parents had some minor health problems. Su Anshin and I discussed it and planned to let the old couple sell the fishing boat and the house at home and come to the city where we both lived to settle down. In the past 3 years, my father and mother hadn't even come to see the child once, which really hurt Su Anshin. Sister, I finally understand how difficult your life was back then. Blood is thicker than water, but just because you were a girl, they really didn't even want to take a look at you. This was the first time Su Anshin had cried and complained to me about our parents. Mom is also a woman. Grandma always scolded her when she was a child. Why has she become just like grandma now? He couldn't understand how such deeply ingrained ideas could turn a woman so abnormal. My parents sold the house in our hometown and moved here. I found a relatively quiet community near the suburbs and settled them down. Su Anshin was angry and refused to meet them. He didn't even tell them the address of the new home. He just paid them living expenses every month. As the spring festival approached, I bought some New Year's goods and went to see them. As expected, as soon as I stepped into the house, I was greeted with their scolding. What are you doing here? My good son has been alienated from us by you. Now he not only doesn't come to see us, but also won't let us have a grandson. I should have listened to your grandma and thrown you into the sea. You bitch. You just watched your younger brother jump into the fire. You've destroyed this family. Are you satisfied now? After my father's arm was broken last time and he didn't recover properly, he had a lingering injury. He couldn't lift his arm anymore and even had great difficulty carrying a heavy object. He had lost the strength to hit me. and I was no longer the little girl who was beaten by him in the past. Now he and my mother could only abuse me with vicious words. I walked straight into the house, put the things on the table, and turned back to look at them with a smile. I give you living expenses every month, you have enough to eat and drink, I even specially bought things to see you, so why am I the ungrateful one? I looked at my mother. Since I was born, Grandma has been making things difficult for you, don't you hate her? Look at you now, you're just as hateful as she was back then. What's wrong with having a girl? Is having a girl a heinous crime? Everyone in this world was born by a woman. Who isn't? Did you ever hold me? Did you ever feel sorry for me? Did you ever think about my future happiness? Did you ever treat me as a family member? If I could choose my own birth, do you think I would choose parents like you? I flipped the table over with one hand, and the fruits and cooked food I bought rolled all over the floor. You're both old now. I advise you to be more obedient, otherwise, I'm afraid I won't step into this house again in the future, just like your son, Su Anshin. After that big quarrel, the two of them were obviously much more well-behaved. That outburst of quarrel alarmed the neighbors. The other residents in the community also knew what kind of people the newly moved-in old couple were. No one in the whole community paid attention to them anymore. No one greeted them when they met. The two of them were completely isolated by everyone in the community. Occasionally, I would still buy some things to see them. Sometimes I saw the two of them sitting on a bench in the community square, looking at a few old people with children not far away, their faces full of desolation. They were much more polite to me and would also ask about the recent situations of Su Anshin and me. I just gave formulaic answers and didn't want to reveal the slightest bit of family affection, even though this was something they desperately desired. Su Anshin would sometimes call me to ask about our parents' situation. I also told him truthfully that our parents were doing well and asked him not to worry. On the other end of the phone, Su Anshin just sighed. Who the hell invented this preference for sons over daughters? I thought of the selfish, cold-blooded Su Anshin in my previous life, but found that I couldn't remember what he looked like. Are you free this weekend? Send Xiaoxue to stay with me for a couple of days. Sure, she said she missed her aunt the other day and was clamoring to go to the school to play with you. In August, the school opening season, I received a call from a student. On the phone, she told me about her family situation while crying. It was exactly the same as mine back then, and it was as if I saw myself in the past. I comforted her softly. Classmate, don't have any concerns, come to the school to report first, the school will figure out a way for the rest. She was very excited and seemed to have grabbed a life-saving straw. Really, teacher? After getting my affirmative answer, she thanked me while crying on the other end of the phone. Before hanging up the phone, I gently encouraged her, girl, don't give up hope. After hearing the story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.